Electrical Black here, and welcome back to another instalment of the Skulls General Reviews month event, in which today I am going to be reviewing The Murder Game by Steve Lyons. Let us begin this review by taking a look at the presentation of this Doctor Who book. For the cover art we have BBC, the old sort of BBC logo, Doctor Who, The Murder Game, Steve Lyons. Then for the cover art itself, in this sort of green, black, yellow and sort of blue with stars sort of spiral, we have Salamander, because for some reason they decided to use Salamander instead of the second Doctor when creating the cover art, but whatever. And then there we have a Salation, and then for the spine we have Doctor Who, well, also against this sort of dark blue sort of background with a few stars and a couple planets. We have Doctor Who, condensed bit of the cover art, The Murder Game, Steve Lyons, BBC. And then for the back of the book we have a condensed bit of the cover art again, the blurb, the barcode, the BBC logo, the original price, and Doctor and the title trademarks of the BBC, all set against this sort of dark blue and light blue sort of background, sort of galaxy sort of background with all sorts of planets and a moon. So for the actual blurb itself, the faded glamour of a hotel in space, spinning in an all but forgotten orbit around the Earth, is host to some unusual visitors this weekend, including a party that claimed to travel in a battered blue police box. It is the year 2146. Answering a distress call from the dilapidated Hotel Galaxian, the TARDIS crew discover that a games enthusiast is using the hotel to host a murder mystery weekend, but it seems someone from his multi-group of guests is taking things a little too seriously. While the Doctor, Ben and Polly find themselves joining in the shadow play, it becomes clear that a real-life murderer is stalking the dark, disused corridors of the Galaxian. But worse than this, there is a sinister force waiting silently in space for events to unfold. A terrible secret is hidden on board the Galaxian, and if it is discovered, nothing, least of all murder, will ever be the same again. If this is a game, the stakes just got higher. Featuring the second Doctor, Ben and Polly, this adventure takes place between the TV stories The Power of the Daleks and The Highlanders. And then for the innards of the book we have Doctor Who, The Murder Game, Steve Lyons, BBC Books, various copyright guff and video releases and books releases from the time, and so yeah. And then we've got the actual start of the book. This is a 284 page long Doctor Who book spread across 15 chapters, and then there we've just got a few bits of blank pages at the back. So yeah, with the presentation of the book over and done with, now was a general consensus and my own personal thoughts and opinions on The Murder Game by Steve Lyons. As for the general consensus, the positivity on this book is pretty high. Ratings normally on this is 3 stars or above, and a couple 5 stars with an average rating of 3.33 recurring out of 5. This is one time where I'm a little baffled with the general consensus. With books like Lungbarrow, they have enormous praise with the general consensus that I personally can't see why. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen my Lungbarrow review, but with me only giving that book a 6 out of 10, I'm personally against the general consensus of it because I can't see the praise. Maybe in some sections of it, but overall, no. This is the complete flip side, where I disagree with the general consensus, unbelievably so. Whereas people may consider my review of that aforementioned Virgin New Adventure blasphemy, I consider the general consensus of this book to be blasphemy. As you are probably able to gather already, I think this is an amazing novel, which is an understatement, but just how good. Imagine this book as a fruit smoothie of Power of the Daleks, Enemy of the World, Fury from the Deep, We in Space, Space Pirates and Robots of Death, blended, in this case written by a cooking, in this case literary god. This adventure cherry-picks elements from all of those aforementioned stories and knits it all together to weave an utterly incredible book. Power of the Daleks, clownish and humorous second Doctor and a TARDIS team from that part of the show. Enemy of the World, murder mystery in a far-flung future. Fury from the Deep, largely unseen villain. Wheel in Space, space station setting. Space Pirates, plot points of organisation between factions and vivid scenes of spaceships. As a matter of fact, the Salation spaceship is described and portrayed in a very similar way down to what one of the spaceships is in this TV story. Robots of Death, themes and scenes of people questioning other people and suspicion. As you may or may not know, 60 Doctor Who is my favourite time of the show. I prefer the first Doctor as an overall character, but Troughton's era I prefer over the first Doctor's era overall. Part of the reason why this is that seasons 4 and 5 took a much darker turn and made things all the more realistic. For example, Power of the Daleks dabbles in insanity. Underwater Menaces deals with how horrific experimentation can be. Macra Terror deals with fear of the unknown and political corruption. Enemy of the World, political corruption. Fury from the Deep, fear of the unknown. Fury from the Deep. In fact, all of his stories from these seasons, I would say, have some very realistic moments and general themes to them. Heck, apart from Highlanders and Snowmen, the strongest of which probably being Fury from the Deep. Heck, even Wheel in Space has this, I would say. The second Doctor character does take some dark turns during his era as well, for that matter. It is for these reasons as to why I personally think that the second Doctor suits the Virgin books and BBC books out of all of the Doctors the most, because in these they can take what his era dabbled in with themes and push said themes even further and escalate them in scale and proportion in order to create adventures 5 times more of the darkness and dark themes in proportion to what stories from his era had. In other words, these Rangers could have easily created an even darker and grimmer Fury from the Deep, which in itself would have been a miracle. As for the book itself, as you would have been able to gather, I personally just absolutely adore it. A lot of people like myself love Steve Lyons' books. Killing Ground, Murder Game, Witch Hunters, The Final Sanction are all considered amazing by fans. I've only experienced only 2 of his books, and I would say as of now, this is my favourite. Personally, I haven't read Witch Hunters in quite a while, and thinking back on it, it may have been better than this. My brain just needs a rebooting on how actually good it actually is by another read, that's all. One massive positive with this book is that the characters are absolutely top notch. The Doctor feels completely copied and pasted from Power of the Daleks, which is wonderful considering this placement in the Doctor Who timeline. It's his awesome clownish depiction from that story escalated in scale even more, I'd say, with him dressing up as a woman in this book, believe it or not. Ben and Polly are absolutely brilliant in this story, and I can easily picture Michael Craze and Anarchy Willis, or Anarchy Wills, and still have no idea how you pronounce her name, or how you say it, stepping into the roles of Ben and Polly for this story. The other characters in this story are absolutely brilliant and feel like a classic Troughton based Under Siege character team from Fury from the Deep or Enemy of the World. Absolutely perfect for what this novel, for this novel, which with it being a replica of that classic period of Troughton based Under Siege stories. The Salations themselves are a somewhat original great monster from this story. Again, going back to more Fruit Smoothie metaphors, take a Dalek, a Cyberman, and of all things a fish person from the Underwater Menace, mix them all up and you get a good picture of what the Salations are. Generally, I don't have any negatives at all with this thrilling novel. However, I can see people citing it for being unoriginal, as it is basically a big mashup of the best of Troughton. Sort of a greatest hits, if you will. Wait, I said the fish people were good, but in my opinion that doesn't really matter overall. This is because to me is what something like The Light at the End or The 11th Tiger should have been. A mashup of great Doctor Who elements to celebrate something in particular. With The Light at the End, it was trying to celebrate Doctor Who, and 11th Tiger being an attempt to celebrate the historical side of the show, whilst both being independent and great adventures as well. Both failed for me personally. This is an attempt to celebrate Troughton's era of Doctor Who, and it more than succeeds. This is not only one of the greatest Doctor Who novels I have read, but it might even be the greatest. If you're a fan of Patrick Troughton's 10 Years the Doctor, particularly seasons 4 and 5, I would highly recommend this book. I would overall rate this Doctor Who book a 10 out of 10. I just simply cannot recommend this book enough. If you're a fan of Patrick Troughton's era as the Doctor and just seasons 4 and 5, this is just an absolute treat in my opinion, and I just simply cannot recommend it enough. And that pretty much concludes this instalment of the Sculpture General Reviews month event. So like, rate, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pitch Gold Black, dematerializing.